The biggest lie you've ever been told is that you should be yourself. This advice is sugary poison strategically designed to keep mediocre people at the bottom of the abyss. Stop and think. Why would you want to be someone who is predictable, reactive, and a slave to their own emotions? Being yourself is a death sentence for any ambition for power. The world doesn't reward your essence, the world rewards your effectiveness. And to become effective, your current self needs to die today. Look in the mirror now. What you see is not a free man. It's a tangle of traumas, concessions, and shortcomings that you've learned to call personality. You are not an individual. You are a territory occupied by other people's opinions and fears that aren't even your own. Machiavelli didn't build a legacy by being himself. He did so by understanding that identity is a strategic mask, a suit of armor that molds itself according to the needs of the throne. The brutal truth that no one dares to tell you is this: your greatest enemy isn't out there, plotting in the shadows. Your greatest enemy is that docile, predictable, and approval-seeking version of yourself that inhabits your mind. As long as you cling to that old identity, you will remain just a disposable piece on someone else's chessboard. Do you feel that weight? That feeling that time is passing and you remain the same extra in someone else's story? This isn't just frustration, it's your sovereign potential screaming from beneath the rubble of a small life. But here's where the tables turn. I'm not here to help you improve. Improvement is for the weak who believe in reforms. I'm here to provide you with the explosives needed to demolish the ruins of your self-perception. We're going to rebuild an empire on the ashes of what you used to be. Now pay attention, because what I'm about to show you is the anatomy of your own destruction. What's really happening is a game of mirrors where you're the only one who doesn't see your own trap. Most people believe their personality is a stone monument, something immutable and sacred, but for the architects of power, identity is just clay. While you pride yourself on being consistent and true to your principle, the system around you is silently mapping you. Your competitors, your adversaries, and even your allies know exactly how you will react to pressure, an insult, or praise. Your predictability is your strategic leash. The mechanism is simple. Society trains you to be an open book. They call it honesty, but the real translation is absolute vulnerability. Machiavelli knew that the sovereign who remains static in his nature is inevitably devoured by fortune. If you always react the same way, if you possess the same emotional triggers and the same thought patterns as 5 years ago, you are not a free man. You are a biological algorithm running a submission software designed by hands that are not your own. Imagine your life as a shadow play. The mediocre are in the audience, lost in the illusion of appearances. The fools are on stage, fervently following a script they didn't write. The strategist, however, inhabits the pit, operating the pulleys and controlling the lights. To reach this position of command, you need to understand that your current identity was meticulously designed to make you harmless, a docile and productive citizen who never questions their own cage. The secret they keep under lock and key is that your shedding of skin, your ability to become an enigma, is the greatest act of rebellion and power you can commit. Now I'm going to show you the mistake that destroys almost everyone. But pay attention, from this point on there's no going back. The most common mistake you're making right now, and one that drains your authority like a deep cut to the throat, is the compulsion to announce your transformation. Mediocre people need witnesses. They feel a desperate hunger for validation and rush to social media or their circle of friends to proclaim, "I've changed, I'm different now." The moment you open your mouth to explain your new self, you've just murdered it. You're giving others the power to judge, label, and consequently control your evolution. Explaining oneself is the ultimate act of submission. When you justify your new attitudes or try to convince the world of your strength, you are, in fact, begging permission to be superior. The sovereign does not ask permission to occupy the throne. He simply sits and lets the silence echo his authority. Every word of explanation is a leak of strategic energy. It's like building an impenetrable fortress and then handing over the map of the secret passages to the enemy. Fools believe that transparency breeds trust. In reality, transparency only creates easier targets. The world is a predator's domain, and nothing attracts more attacks than a wannabe strategist who still carries the scent of neediness. While you seek the approving gaze of others, your old identity continues to operate in the shadows, pulling at the threads of your insecurity. You are not rebuilding yourself. You are merely painting the bars of your cell a more imposing color, and this is where the theme reveals its true nature. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is a weapon of mass destruction against the opponent's perception. Without understanding this, you remain vulnerable exposing your armor even before entering the battlefield. Now comes the part that changes everything. The strategic shift doesn't begin with a battle cry, but with a frigid silence. The new self you are forging in the flames of discipline doesn't seek to be loved, it seeks to be inevitable. While others desperately chase after crumbs of attention, you must retreat into the shadows of calculation. From now on, your emotions are no longer your guides. They are tools of misinformation. If you feel anger, use it as silent fuel, never as a public explosion. If you feel fear, transform it into absolute vigilance. The ruthless strategist inhabits the space between others' perception and their own reality. Machiavelli taught that a prince must know how to be the lion to frighten away the wolves and the fox to recognize the traps. But you must go further. You must be the labyrinth. Your new posture is one of tactical neutrality. When someone attacks you, don't retaliate, observe. When someone praises you, don't smile. Analyze the intention behind the flattery. Your old self was a cheap mirror that reflected the moods and will of others. Your new self is an abyss that swallows the intentions of others without revealing your own. You now possess an unfair advantage over the masses, the absence of a fixed and predictable self. You are fluid, adaptable, and dangerously calm under pressure. The world cannot reach what it cannot define. Now you are no longer the prey trying to hide in the forest. You are the architect who decides where each trap will be set on the board. You have become an unknown in an equation of obvious variables, but this is still only the surface. There is a much deeper and darker layer that you need to confront if you want this transformation to be permanent. Now pay attention. Without understanding the root of what kept you weak, your empire will crumble before dawn. But here's the truth that will burn away what's left of your comfort zone. You are the architect of your own insignificance. The root of your failure is not a lack of opportunity nor bad luck. It's your pathological hunger for validation. Your ego is an addicted beggar feeding on the crumbs of attention that mediocre people throw your way. You're so afraid of being nobody that you end up accepting being just anyone. Machiavelli understood that power is allergic to want. The sovereign does not seek to be loved by the masses because love is volatile and dependent on the will of others. He prefers to be feared because fear is a territory controlled by his own strength. His former self is terrified of silence because in the vacuum of words he is forced to confront his own emptiness. You talk too much, explain yourself too much, and expose yourself too much because you believe that if the world stops looking, you will cease to exist. This need to be understood is the chain that binds you to the ground. As long as you seek the approving gaze of those who have built nothing, you will remain a servant. To be reborn as a ruthless strategist, you need to perform an internal ritual of execution. Kill the parasite that inhabits your chest and begs for acceptance. True power doesn't need an audience. It manifests in the shadows, in cold calculation, and in surgical execution. Without uprooting this root of neediness, any armor you put on will be nothing more than a carnival costume on a fragile body. Now I will show you what remains when the lights go out and the new order is established. This is the end of your submission and the beginning of your empire. The smoke from the fire that consumed your former identity has finally settled. What remains is not emptiness, but a foundation of granite and ice. You are no longer a reflection in the eyes of others. Now you are the abyss that stares back at them. The man who begged for acceptance was executed in the silence of his own conscience. In his place, the strategist has risen, one who understands that life is not an emotional playground, but a war of positions where the only real currency is effectiveness. You now bear the mark of the rare, the untouchable. While the mediocre continue their reactive lives, slaves to impulses and the opinions of others, you operate from an absolute center of gravity. Your words are scarce, your actions are calculated, and your silence is a sentence. You have become the architect of your own empire, where every decision is made with the coldness of someone who has nothing to prove and everything to conquer. The world will try to label you, try to pull you back into the mire of predictability, but you are the labyrinth. You are the fox that knows the traps and the lion that doesn't need to roar to dominate the territory. This is your baptism of fire. From today onward, you don't just walk among men, you move among pieces on a chessboard. If you're ready to embrace this new skin and finally abandon the neediness that chained you, this is your ground zero. Write in the comments, yo, the old me is dead and go for a. Let this phrase be your seal of commitment to mental sovereignty and the signal for others of the same lineage to recognize you in the silence. If you seek strategic clarity in a world of the blind and want to be part of this awakened elite, sign up now. The war has begun and you have finally taken command.